Hi, Tina Davidoff with Keller Williams Residential Real Estate, and today I am going to show you something I have enjoyed for years and really thought everybody enjoyed doing this until one of my neighbors said she had no idea what pesto, how to do it. So I'm going to just show you a little bit of what I've harvested. I'm trying to get this done before the summer's out, and so I'm going to put it up in mason jars in my freezer and then pull them out throughout the year to use with everything from fish to on tomatoes, on vegetables, just about anything else. So I started off with fresh basil from my garden. I've pretty much taken all the stems out of it. I just have a little bit more to do. And so I am doing an extra big batch, but you could do a smaller batch. I typically don't use much of a recipe for this. But for this, I'm using 8 ounces of pine nuts, which is probably double of what most of you would want to do. And I've quickly just toasted them in a skillet so that they're a little bit toasty. And I've already finished those. As you can see, they're just a little bit toasty. It took me maybe 5 minutes. Once you start to smell them a little bit, no oil in the pan or anything, then you're good to go. So I've pretty much got 8 cups of basil. But as I said, if I were you, I'd probably do about half this amount. And I'm just gonna pile it all into my food processor. You wanna wash it good and you wanna make sure it's pretty dry. If it's not, just take a paper towel, which I'm getting ready to do, and just towel it just a little bit. You don't want those stems. Just throw them in your disposal because it'll make your disposal smell a whole lot better. I'm just grabbing a paper towel here. I'm just gonna put that on there a little bit. And then I'm gonna set this aside. I'm gonna add in my pine nuts. I mean, this is so easy, it's really ridiculous. So the one thing I've learned about basil, I'm gonna talk to you while I grab my garlic. One thing I've learned about basil is that mine actually does better in the dirt as opposed to in the ground as opposed to in pots. It dries out very quickly. I'm in Dallas, Texas. We have extreme heat here. The basil goes crazy in the heat, but it does require water. In fact, this year is the first year I actually created a flower bed for my herbs outside, and my basil's going pretty much nuts. So if you can't grow it, you can also buy the plants ready to go at the market. I know Trader Joe's here has basil plants. They're very inexpensive. You can use that as your starter, or you can just go to the nursery and get them. I typically get them as early as I can and get them in the ground. That way I have plenty of basil to take me through the summer. One of our favorite things is to do a caprese salad, which is just sliced tomatoes and mozzarella and fresh basil. If you have pesto ready to go, you can heat that up and pour it on it. I love to take my pesto and put it on fish, on salmon it's delicious. You can put it on chicken, and it's really, there's just nothing to it. And they charge you an arm and a leg for this at the grocery store, so I prefer to just do my own. So I am just about ready with the garlic. Actually, should have probably had that done before I turned on the video, but I didn't. I forgot. This is a lemon. I'm gonna just take the lemon. I'm gonna do just a little bit of zest. Again, I'm not really using any measurements here. I would say, the zest from about a half a lemon. This is a microplane. If you don't have one, it's a great tool to use. If you don't have one of these, you can use just a plain box top grater. This is just, I always use this in my kitchen. It's fast and it's easy. I'm gonna throw in just a little bit of salt. This is kosher salt. You want to add, and then fresh ground black pepper. I try to use always use fresh ground as opposed to coming out of the canister. And again, I don't have a measurement for that. It doesn't seem to really matter. I am going to get this going just briefly. So I'm using a Cuisinart. If you don't know Cuisinart, this is really hard to do. The only other thing you could do is maybe use a blender. Vitamix blender is great, but I've been making it in a Cuisinart for my whole life, so it's the only way I really work. So I'm using the pulse feature, which is just, you just pulse it, you get everything kind of going. can't imagine if you had to do this by hand. And then you want a good quality olive oil. I am going to use a cup to start with. I think for this recipe with this much basil, I'm probably gonna have to use more like 2 cups. But let's get it going and we'll see. If I wasn't doing this for video, I probably wouldn't even measure, but the nice thing about the Cuisinart is you can turn it on, pour it to the top. It's looking pretty darn good. I'm gonna add a little Parmesan to this. Again, if you wanna add Parmesan, you can. If you don't do it. Got my spatula here. Now what is really delicious if you take this and you toast up, take a French baguette, slice it, toast it, and spread a little bit of this on top of it and top it with a piece of tomato. It's incredibly delicious. All right, so that is all there is to it, believe it or not. I'm gonna grab a spoon here and just take a little taste, just to make sure that it's not too much of one thing or another. It's delicious, tastes just like summer. Now all I'm gonna do with this, I'm just gonna take this, pop it into some mason jars, label it, and stick it in the fridge. I'll put one in the fridge, the rest will all go in the freezer. I used up my last jar last week when I was making salmon for dinner, so I need to restock, and I don't want my basil to go to waste, because once you get a first freeze, your basil's gone. It does not hold. That's about it. Tina Davidoff with Keller Williams Realty, and I've got the recipe for real estate.